breaking news right off the top of the hour. Robert Kraft, oh no, what is you doing out there, as we like to say? 2 misdemeanors here getting caught up in Florida. The NFL news cycle, Teddy, it never ends, does it?
And the prostitution stings. I mean, they never seem to end either. Obviously we're mocking it here. It's not a joke of a situation, and it's a real embarrassment for the Patriots to see their owner get arrested in a common prostitution sting at a spa down in South Florida. So embarrassing, funny, but does it have any impact? Not from a betting perspective.
Nope, Teddy should have known better. I mean, there's places like the Bunny Ranch out there in Nevada. We could have done this all legally and through the ropes there. But interesting that the NFL always pops up, and usually never for a good thing. But if there's anything to be said about a news cycle, Teddy, it's better that it happens on a Friday, so maybe you can bury it, but not here on That Betting Show. We're going to get you each and every time. Let's move it on to some hot topics of the day. I don't know how much hotter they are than Robert Kraft getting arrested, but we'll take a look at those Los Angeles Lakers last night, Teddy. Big win, coming back from 19 down. James Harden and Chris Paul a little bit upset at the end of the basketball game about the way the game was officiated. 28 fouls one side, 17 to the other. But the Lakers needed this win to get jump-started on the second half. And as you said yesterday, Teddy, LeBron is engaged for the second half.
He sure was. But it wasn't all LeBron. Brandon Ingram with a big game last night. And, of course, Scott Foster with a big game last night, blowing whistles on the Houston Rockets. And, of course, I'm hoping most of you, I'm assuming most of you out there have read the ESPN article that really details everything in the Tim Donaghy scandal. If you haven't read it, it's a great read. It's in the ESPN, the mag this week. It's on ESPN.com, etc. It's a must read. And one of the things that it talks about in that article is that when the Donaghy situation went down, there was a leaker in the NBA office that essentially ended the investigation into the other refs in the league. Scott Foster was one of those guys who was never thoroughly investigated, and yet there have been rumors about Scott Foster for years, and those rumors will continue to persist after last night's officiating fiasco where James Harden got blown for 4 offensive fouls, including the one that fouled him out of the game with a minute and a half left.
Yeah, certainly don't do well under Scott Foster every time that he does ref those Houston games. They said they've had meetings, they've had sit-downs. Chris Paul's met with the league, and it doesn't look like they've really determined or had any outcome on that. We'll keep an eye on it as it goes down through the season. Teddy, breathe a sigh of relief for Zion. Whew, the debate's not going to end. Should he come back to Duke? Should he play? Should he get ready for the NBA draft, sign a huge shoe contract, and go off riding into the sunset? But it looks like the injury not too bad. Just a common sprain. They called it a grade 1, day-to-day, reevaluated in a few days. However, he is out for the Syracuse game on Saturday up in the Carrier Dome. But good news overall. Nobody ever wants to see anybody get injured there. Now we start that next mounting surge of, is he coming back? Is he playing? Is he sitting out? Is he heading to the draft? What do you think, Teddy?
Well, look, if you're a big man and you have some injury issues in college, you got to show me. Because the 2 words that stand out to me are Greg Oden. And I don't know if you remember Greg Oden. He was the Ohio State star who got hurt his freshman year and then went to the NBA and then turned out to be a little bit of a bust as the number 1 overall pick for the Portland Trailblazers because he could never stay healthy. When I'm drafting a big man, I need to know his knees are good, his ankles are good, et cetera, et cetera. So we talked about it yesterday in the hot take. Where, should Zion sit? Should he play? Honestly, I think he should play. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, it's not a kind of maybe, no, yes. It's if you're healthy, get back out there and help your team. Don't be sitting out waiting for the NBA dollars because that's only going to increase the questions about your durability. So good news for Duke, good news for Williamson. I think the best case scenario for college hoops is if he plays again for the Blue Devils and helps them try to win a national title.
I agree. I mean, that was certainly a hot topic around social media yesterday, Teddy. And the one point I kept coming to as well, in other scenarios, well, I think it's a little bit different in basketball. Number one, he didn't have a catastrophic injury. Even when you look at Kenyon Martin, Teddy, I believe it was the year 2000, 1999, somewhere in that range with the Cincinnati Bearcats. He snaps his leg, is still the number 1 overall pick, Teddy, and not counting endorsements, made $112 million in salary contracts there. So there is some proof that says you can get hurt and make a ton of money.
Sure. All that being said, Kenyon Martin was what he was at Cincinnati before he got hurt was the most insane-looking NBA player that we've seen in the decade. He had a good career. His career would have been better, I think, had he not suffered that injury. I really do.
Duke sits at plus 225 at one outlet with DraftKings plus 250 at betonline.ag. So some interesting things there to look at. Maybe if he comes back, you get a little bit more value, sit and wait on that. But obviously with that betting show, we're going to take a look as it goes. Keep you updated all the time here at sportsbookreview.com with any Zion Williamson information that comes out. NBA at it again, Teddy. What was it, 2005, changing the draft status there where you can't come directly out of high school. You got to sit out one calendar year or 1 year after high school graduation before making yourself eligible for the NBA. You can go to college, you can go overseas, you can sit out and hang out and work out at the YMCA. That would be your choice. To me, Teddy, looking at this, I don't like it. And it's not because of I think players should be able to make their own minds up and go pro at 18 if they want. That is their choice. But I just think it saves the NBA from itself when you saw that legion of players. Because for every Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, there's 25 to 30 other players that just fail, take the money off your team, and obviously wasted draft picks and harming the organization. I just used it as a reason, Teddy, that the NBA itself saves it from itself to try to help them better with their draft process. What do you think?
It's a knee jerk. And the one thing that we never want to see is, oh, look, this guy got hurt. Oh, let's change our rules because of it. Knee jerk, boom. Oh, I mean, there's a reason that the NBA went to a 19-year-old minimum. And that's because, you talked about all the guys that didn't make it, the Jonathan Benders of the world, even the guys that had a little bit of success, the Darius Miles of the world, the guys coming out of high school as 18-year-olds, going onto an NBA roster and never living up to their potential for whatever reason, for all kinds of reasons. College is not supposed to be a developmental league necessarily for the NBA, but it's hard to say for me to look somebody in the eye and say, no, you're 18 years old, you're a grown man, but no, you can't do what you're capable of doing and want to do for a living. That's not fair. And at the same time, it's not good for the NBA to have the players go straight out of high school. It's not good for college hoops either. Zion Williamson improved his brand and improved his ability to make money down the road with his one season at Duke. So I really have mixed feelings. And in those situations, I'm trying not to come up with a take that's bullshit. I don't know. There is no right answer.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because the common concept is you're 18 to make your own decisions. And if the the NBA wants to draft these kids and they want to make the mistake within their organization, that's certainly on them. But then again, looking down the line, does it help your team as being a fan of your team? I can't believe we drafted this 18-year-old kid. He can't play after 3 years. We wasted the number 3 overall draft pick. But them's is the breaks, as we like to say, because in Major League Baseball, when you look at those first-round picks over the past 10, 15, and 20 years, you'd be amazed at how many high draft picks, even in the top 10, never even sniff Major League Baseball. So we'll see as it goes down the line, Teddy. Talking about Major League Baseball, a little segue moving right in here with the AL East. Most people don't even know that Tampa Bay Rays play in that division, but they won 90 games last year. And we'll take a quick look at them today heading into spring training baseball. 33-1, Teddy, to win the 2019 World Series. And also the team total at 83.5. Keep in mind, people, you're looking at 2 teams in that division that won 100 games last year and another team that won 90. Very competitive, low money, money ball type atmosphere there in Tampa Bay. Decent pitching staff heading in. We know they are known, Teddy, for the openers in baseball, but they do have Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell still on staff. A young, scrappy team. It's just hard footing there, Teddy. Dealing with the Red Sox and the Yankees. What are we looking at here with the Tampa Bay Rays this year?
The markets had no idea how to price Tampa Bay last year when they were doing the bullpen by committee and start after start, where it was the bullpen game and another bullpen game. And, we're going to play our bullpen again today. The opener, Ryan Stanek, started 29 games last year. And I would expect to see more of the same from a team that is fairly high on the charts when it comes to understanding advanced metrics and using them appropriately. Of course, Tampa's got the worst facilities. Well, maybe Oakland has the worst facilities, but Tampa and Oakland have the worst facilities in MLB. They have no fan base. No one comes to the game. The stadium stinks. They talk about moving. And yet, last year, number 3 in baseball in profitability, and just about all their profits came at home. They were plus 21 units at home. They were number 1 in MLB in run line profits last year, plus 1.5 or minus 1.5. They did have more unders than overs a year ago, 82 to 73. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case again this season. But you have to like that young outfield with Kevin Kiermaier and Tommy Pham and Austin Meadows. You have to think that Matt Duffy is going to do something at third base this year that he couldn't do a season ago. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rays once again be moneymakers for their backers on a fairly regular basis this season. I'm not convinced the markets are going to price Tampa appropriately.
No, very interesting as well. I mean, we think back to the old, like in the National Hockey League, we looked at like, the old Garden in Boston, where it was a little bit shorter, a little bit more funky than the other arenas around there. But certainly, I mean, you got to worry about hitting rafters and catwalks and a white ceiling. You lose the baseball down there, and there's only, 2,000 to 3,000 people per game. So always an interesting atmosphere. But kudos to this team for still hanging around and grabbing 90 wins last year. We'll see what they do this year.